Hey guys, hope you're all doing amazing. Welcome to part 4 of the Classic Survival Horror Framework tutorial series. Before we start, I just want to give a huge shout out and say a big thank you to everyone supporting me on Patreon. Your support really gives me motivation and energy to keep improving the framework, and there are some awesome new features on the way. In this part, we're going to talk about the monster, specifically how you can combine monster cutscenes into gameplay, how to spawn your monster, and decide when and where it appears. I'm going to use a demo map I made myself for this part, and I'll walk you through how this section was set up. So, the first thing you need to do is set up the cutscene for the monster's first appearance. Usually, the first time a monster shows up, we want a cutscene. Like in classic Resident Evil 3, when Nemesis appears for the first time. You need to first create that kind of cutscene. Then we can use the cutscene player in the framework. I've already explained how to use the cutscene player for normal cutscenes in a previous video, so if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. That video shows how to combine your normal cutscenes with gameplay using the cutscene player. Alright, so once you've created your cutscene for the player's first encounter with the monster, here's what we're gonna do. When the player enters this door, after the transition finishes, the cutscene will play. In the cutscene player details, you should set the cutscene type to one related to the monster. If you open the cutscene type, you'll see different options like Cutscene 1, Cutscene 2, Monster 1, Test 1. If you watch the previous video, you'll understand how Test 1 was created. So definitely check that out. Generally, if we open the Cutscene enum, we can see all the cutscenes here. You can add as many new types as you want. For the first time the player sees the monster, we've made a cutscene and called it Monster 1. Later, if you want more cutscenes, just click Add and set them up here. In the duration field, enter the cutscene's length. Make sure to tick it as a monster cutscene because it's for our monster. Since this is the first time the monster appears, we select First Encounter. I also added some other examples, like Basement and Final Battle, so you can see how to add other events. All of this is inside the enum. This section is basically for setting up different cutscenes for your monster and deciding where each cutscene happens using the enum. Next is the monster spawn location. You need to decide exactly where your monster will spawn. Here's how. Go to the AI section and we have an actor called BP Enemy Spawn Point. We place this actor where we want the monster to appear. Then, click on the cutscene player and assign this spawn point in the monster spawn location. Also, tick Teleport Player after cutscene. Why? Because if during the cutscene, the player moves or is in a different position than expected, we want the player's location to update to match the end of the cutscene. Set both player teleport location and player teleport rotation. For the rotation, you might need to experiment a bit to get it right. Alright, so next step, you need to open up the cutscene player blueprint. Inside here, in the cutscene section, you'll see we already used a switch on our enum that defines our cutscene type. And as you can see, we've also used the monster encounter location for first encounter. So for this first encounter, we're basically telling the system how and when the monster should show up. And just like in the Nemesis scene from Resident Evil, you'll get those on-screen options asking the player if they want to fight the monster or maybe just run away. Now, this brings us to the Monster Options widget, which is called WB Monster Option. This is the widget that gives the player those choices how they want to deal with the monster. For example, in my setup, I made two options: top fight and bottom escape. But of course, you can add your own. The way it works is, inside the Blueprint database, we created an enum called Monster Option. In my sample, I added a couple Fight, Escape, and another one like Use Electricity, Jump Down. Right now, we're just using the first one, fight or escape. Once you pick your enum, those options will automatically show up in the widget. Then, inside the graph, in the select node, you decide what happens for each choice. In the sample, I set it so if the player picks fight, one event happens, and if they pick escape, another event triggers. So yeah, when the player chooses fight, it goes into a battle with the monster. If they choose escape, the game handles it differently. Pretty flexible, right? You can totally use this as a base and expand it however you like. That's the whole idea. The framework gives you examples so you can build your own stuff on top. Now, one more really important thing I need to cover. After the first encounter, whether the player fights or escapes, the monster can show up again later at random spots. And for that, we have a special actor called BP Monster Spawner. This actor's job is simple: spawn the monster. Unlike the cutscene player, which can also spawn the monster but is tied to a cutscene, this spawner works independently. So, if you want the monster to show up randomly in certain areas, you just drop one of these spawners in your level. For example, here I've placed one on the map. You just give it a spawn point and it'll handle the rest. The key property here is chance to spawn. You can set it to 25%, 50%, 75%, or 100%. That way, the encounter feels more dynamic, not always the same. So, if you set it to 50%, there's a 50-50 chance the monster will spawn when the player overlaps that spawner. If you set it to 100%, it's guaranteed. There's also a checkbox called Only One Spawn. If you check that, the spawner only works once. If you leave it unchecked, the monster can keep spawning there multiple times. One thing to note, if the player actually defeats the monster, then it won't spawn again later. But if the player runs away or doesn't kill it, then based on the chance you set, the monster can come back. That's pretty much how the monster system works. Thanks so much for watching and for following along. Make sure to check out the roadmap. I'll leave a link in the description so you know what new features and updates are coming to the classic survival horror framework. And if you'd like to support me even more, you can join my Patreon. I share some really cool add-ons there completely free for my patrons. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.